It's time for The Hard Way Podcast, the saga of an award-winning journalist trying to make it as a family man, despite having no idea what he's doing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Matt Schorr.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out the Hard Way Podcast, a podcast where I welcome everybody to come in, sit down, relax, take a breather, and laugh at my pain. There'll be a little bit of an exception this time, though. We're not really laughing at my pain so much this time around because this time I'm going to be talking about some serious fun that my wife and I had recently. I mentioned in the inaugural episode of this podcast that Amanda and I, that my gift for her was tickets to the Transworld Halloween and Attraction Show, and how this has been a Valentine's tradition for us for several years. But this particular year, the show was happening before Valentine's Day rather than after like it usually did. So the tickets had to get to her sooner. So they transitioned away from Valentine's gifts to a Christmas gift, and that became a cool way to make Christmas spooky. Always looking for ways to make different holidays spooky. I'm getting pretty good at this. But first, quick word from Schorr Manor. Hey, if you haven't already, be sure to visit the official Schorr Manor online t-shirt shop, the purveyors of all things spooky and all things Halloween, as long as it's in t-shirt form. You can find it at mattshore.net. Just click on shop at the top of the page. And while you're there, be sure to use the promo code JOURNALIST and get 10% off of everything in the store. Once again, that's mattshore.net and click on shop at the top of the page. We went to the show, and as always, it was phenomenal. If you're not familiar with it, just think San Diego Comic-Con, but with Halloween. I'm going to pull up their website here just a minute, and I'll read off how they describe themselves. It says here, there is no other show that has as many exhibitors and industry-related products as Transworld. For 4 decades, it has created the marketplace for the haunted house industry. And every year, the industry gathers at this show to network, get new ideas, and to purchase products. It's considered a must-attend event for anybody who is in the industry uh, or on the periphery or around it or whatever, or if you're just an enthusiast like Amanda and me. It's a huge event, and it's such gosh, it's so cool. You walk into this thing, and no joke, it's just like you walk in and it's Halloween and it's horror as far as you can see, just all over just nonstop everywhere. There is what's called the dark room where they have uh, it sounds like it's all spooky, just extra spooky or whatever, but really what it is, it's a place to showcase things where lighting is more key. So you'll go in there and they'll have dragons and like 20-foot skeletons. You think those 12-foot skeletons from Home Depot are big? You should see the 20-foot one that we saw in this dark room with like green and blue lighting up on it. There was this garden of like gigantic pumpkins where this somehow it's like a creature with a giant pumpkin head for like its head and its body, vines and arms that reach out, and for like its appendages are like more pumpkins, and they're all carved into like jack-o'-lantern faces. There's wraiths flying around it, that ghosts and like screaming banshees, and like zombies. Of course, you always got zombies at these things. Vampires, like the one really I found this amusing. They had this trio of female vampiresses. They're props, of course, not real ones, but they're hanging on this sort of armature that as you walk past it, something sets it off and it shoots them out towards you real quick, and they start making these sounds. And the sounds they make are these kind of suckling sounds because they're vampires, and also this kind of sensuous, sexy, feminine moaning and groaning going along with it. And Amanda was weirded out by it, and I said, "What is it that weirded you out? What was it like? All the sensuous nature of what they're doing?" And she's like, "No, what are those weird slurpy noises that they're doing?" It's like, it's just like so. That's what bugged you more than more than the other stuff. But one thing that I did, it was sort of like a ride, but not really. I don't know what to classify it as. I didn't quite know what I was getting into until I did it. There was this oversized coffin, and you could it opened and closed, and I thought all it did was just rattle around because that's what I saw it doing. But the people manning the booth invited me. They said, "You want to go for a ride?" I said, "A ride? What are we doing with this thing?" He said, "Yeah, it's a ride." So I said, "Okay." So I climbed in, and then I just sort of I sat down, legs crossed. Said, "Okay, here we go. It's going to just rattle me around a bit." And he said, "No, no, no. You've got to lie down." And that's like, oh well, I'm here, and I can't really get out of this. Uh, I'll acknowledge right now I am somewhat claustrophobic. I don't know if you've seen the movie Descent, but the part of that film that freaked me out the most was not the underdwelling creatures. It was scenes where they're like crawling around. There's like one specific shot where the entire screen is black except for like a little 1/10 of it that shows the tunnel where the characters are like crawling through. That's what freaked me out more than anything in that film. So getting closed into a casket was I don't know, kind of a big ask for me, but I did it. I was committed. I was there, so it's like, all right, I'll do it. So I laid back and they closed the lid, and I had to close my eyes. I mean, it was so dark I couldn't see anyway, but it's like if my eyes are closed and I can't see, it's because in my mind I'm thinking like, well, it's because my eyes are closed. It's not because I'm in a enclosed box with no light. And then you hear this noise all around, like shovels digging, like you're being dug out of the earth, and these grave robbers talking about it, and then like they're like, all right, heave, and you feel the thing move, so it feels like you're being tossed about as they carry you around. It's like those old kind of like those things you go to. It's sort of like arcades used to have them, and like you see them in the malls now, where like you sit and it looks like you're riding in a boat or flying through space or whatever. Only this one is strictly audio. You can't see anything. You just have to listen to it. So in that case, kind of brilliant. I'm curious how marketable that thing is because I, I did it once there for free, but there's no way on earth I'm paying money to do. Maybe some other folks out there are not quite so claustrophobic as I am. I don't know, but it was a good time. We that it was still a good time. That didn't diminish any of it. I was able to pick up some comic books, which for me was exciting. Bloody Mary Comics was there, and I got a trade paperback and two individual issues. Finished the first trade already, and up next I'll start reading those issues. Loved that trade. It's a cool story. I liked it. Quite good. I recommend it if you're looking for an indie comic. Bloody Mary Comics. Quite good. Very good. And I had a long chat with the lady who created them. And Amanda was able to pick up some books from a group that was doing charitable work. And one of the things was you give them $10 for their charity, and you get into a drawing for a 12-foot skeleton, which we, of course, didn't win. But she gave them the 10. They gave her a book, and then they insisted on giving us two T-shirts to go with it. So when they gave me a free shirt, I was like, I owe you guys a little something extra. So I had two $1 bills in my pocket. I said, here, just take these. I don't want anything back, and it's so humble. I wish I could do more, but just take them, put them toward your charity, and if it helps a little bit, then great. And they were very appreciative, very nice people. There was also a Christmas section. Can't ignore that because Christmas, it's a big deal, right? I guess. Well, the American economy only built and thrives and lives and dies by it. But uh, there was a gentleman there dressed up as Santa who was kind enough to send a message from Santa back to our kids. So that was fun. It was really cute to do that. But I wish I could tell you some other sort of something where you could laugh at my pain a bit more than that claustrophobic tale, but that's it was more fun than tragic. So I can't give you any tales where you laugh at me. Um, One, I guess, rather amusing story was we were trying to figure out what to do for lunch because we didn't want to drive anywhere because this event is located in downtown St. Louis, and I hate driving. Any downtown metropolitan area is awful. Downtown St. Louis, if it's not the worst, it's up there. Uh, I can't stand it. So we wanted to first we're like, well, let's just do something here. So we looked at the cafes that they had there at the convention, and nothing looked really that great. And so we poked around and we found one particular restaurant. And I said, well, what about this one? And Amanda said, well, that's going to be expensive. And I said, well, it's expensive here. They're overcharging us here. Why don't we go somewhere that will actually like it? So if we're going to pay a lot of food, it's a lot of money. Let's at least like the food. So it was called Sugar Fire Barbecue. And it might just be one of the greatest barbecue restaurants I've ever been to in my life. Gosh, it was good. Their cornbread was amazing. And and instead of fries, I was going to order fries until I saw they had this kind of green bean vegetable medley. I don't know if you guys care to hear about any of this, but vegetable medley with squash, and it just looked so good. It's like, give me that. And it was amazing. It was delicious and phenomenal. So yeah, that was awesome. And then that night we went back to a restaurant we've gone to a lot of times called Who Hot. It's just this kind of oversized uh, Chinese, Japanese, Thai hibachi grill where they have this giant circle in the middle and everybody just brings their food to them and the cooks just prep it all for you right there. That's a lot of fun too. So Amanda, Who Hot might be her favorite restaurant in the world. So yeah, but that Sugar Fire Barbecue might be close. But anyway, so um, Transworld was a great time. Man, it was fun. I hope we can do it again. We keep hoping that some year maybe we can be a part of it. Hasn't happened yet, but I don't know. Maybe someday. We'll see. But one bit of excitement I can add as we wind down here is the day before we left. I mean, 24 hours, less than 24 hours, in fact, before we were at St. Louis, we got a text message from our neighbor who's going to a convention next month called HauntCon in Owensboro, Kentucky, and he said he had an extra ticket or two and asked if we'd want to go. And we said, well, yeah, of course we want to go. So we're going to have one more haunted convention to report on later on. So hope you'll stay tuned. In between now and then, I'm sure there'll be a nice embarrassing story that we can all laugh about. Me being such a doofus and a klutz. But anyway, as we wind down, thank you so much. And we'll move on to
upcoming events.
On March 18th, I will be at Clarksville Con at the Quality Inn in Clarksville, Tennessee. Then the following month, April 18th, I'll be at Louisville Con at the Triple Crown Pavilion in Louisville, Kentucky. After that, on May 6th, is Free Comic Book Day, and I will be with the gang over at Rick's Comic City in Clarksville, Tennessee. So if you're in town, be sure to check that one out. Then on June 9th through 11th, I'll be a part of the Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois. And then the following month, July 14th through 18th, I will be back in Louisville for the Imaginarium Convention. That will be at the Holiday Inn Louisville East in Louisville, Kentucky. So now let's move on to
cheap plugs.
This podcast is a production of Schorr Manor Studio, an indie publishing and production house for all things spooky. Be sure to look us up on YouTube by visiting tinyurl.com/Schorr Manor YouTube, or just search for Schorr Manor. We'll show up right away. All of this show's episodes are there with full video, so check that out. You can also sign up for our official newsletter at tinyurl.com/Schorr Manor newsletter and get all of our latest news and announcements delivered right to your inbox. Be sure to sign up and maybe even tell a friend or two. If you'd like to connect with me directly, there are several ways that you can do that. You can find me on Twitter at @TheMattSchorr, on Instagram at TheSchorr, and on TikTok at @TheOneMattSchorr. That's the number one Matt Schorr. Or just by email at mattschorr@hotmail.com. And you can look us up on our official website at www.mattschorr.net, where you'll find this and previous episodes archived, not to mention our online book and t-shirt stores. Just click on the podcast link at the top of the page. So thanks again for checking out this episode. And remember, keep reading and keep listening. Thanks.